Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we are having so much fun in February talking about AI and learning about it and learning all of the tips, knowing that we're just scratching the surface, and also knowing that in a month, a lot of this might not even pertain, but it is so much fun. And I am having so much fun talking with my guests. So please join me in welcoming the wonderful Tori Begg to our program today. Welcome, Tori. How are you?
Thanks, Deb. I'm doing really well. Dallas is a little out of character today. It is sleeting here, but we're safe and warm in the house.
Yes. It is a whopping 34 here in Atlanta. I know. We don't do that. I don't do cold.
No.
So, Tori and I actually know each other from an AI mastermind group that we are both in. I am the beginner person and she's the extreme advanced person. And it's so much fun because she is so knowledgeable. So I know we really are going to have a great conversation. So Tori, let me tell folks a little bit about you and then we will jump into this. So Tori Begg is a dynamic leader and innovator specializing in integrating artificial intelligence into sales and marketing processes. As the head of AI enablement and strategy for V Digital Services, she focuses on empowering the sales team to operate more efficiently and effectively through cutting-edge AI tools and systems. With nearly 2 years of experience, which is the whole thing, right? With nearly 2 years of experience driving inventive solutions in AI, Tori has established herself as an expert in transforming workflows to enhance productivity and results. With a passion for efficiency, creativity, and problem solving, Tori continues to lead forward-thinking initiatives that shape the future of sales and marketing in the AI era. So again, Tori, welcome.
Thank you.
I always like to know how it is that my guests got to where they are today, because I think it's very interesting. And it is funny that we're talking about you've been an expert for 2 years. And that's been the whole time, and so, but tell us a little bit more about your career.
Yeah, Deb. So I've had a little bit of a unique road and path to get to where I am today. I never went to college and didn't really start exploring the quote unquote business world until fairly recently.
Okay.
So I was in the food, beverage, hospitality industry, kind of hopping around from being a server to a bartender and started dabbling a little bit with working with their social media presence and driving marketing initiatives in that way when 2020 came and the pandemic hit and
all
my
those places shut
down because all of them did, right? So I needed to figure out a different way to start moving my career forward. I had 2 kids and was super passionate about finding another outlet. So I was living in Denver at the time, and my brother and I were driving this on-demand staffing app in the food, beverage, hospitality industry. It was, think of it as the Uber of the food, beverage, hospitality industry. A restaurant owner or catering company could have a shift that was empty or their dishwasher called out and they could go on the app, post a shift.
We need somebody now.
Right? And it would be the people in your area that had experience that were rated, 5-star rated, and they would see the shift, apply. You got to pick who you wanted. They would show up, work the shift, leave, and get paid in 2 hours.
Cool.
Really cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
It was right at the beginning of this
Mm-hmm.
gig work economy.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved from Denver
Mm-hmm.
down to College Station, Texas
Mm-hmm.
with my brother,
Mm-hmm.
where we really started driving this system
Mm-hmm.
into Texas A&M,
Mm-hmm.
working with the Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Field there in the
Mm-hmm.
concessions and
Mm-hmm.
the food courts
Mm-hmm.
for cashiers.
Right.
And this really took off
Mm-hmm.
because what better place than a college and people who
Right.
needed your
And people
money?
who need just a shift here and there.
Exactly. So I started doing a lot of the recruiting and marketing within this app,
Okay.
driving both internal and external recruiting. So
Mm-hmm.
getting businesses to come onto the app
Mm-hmm.
and then workers
Mm-hmm.
to fill the shifts.
Right.
Really falling into the idea of go to market and
Mm-hmm.
marketing and
Mm-hmm.
trying to make our presence known
Mm-hmm.
in different verticals
Mm-hmm.
and markets. From there, we sold the company to a large staffing firm.
Cool.
I started working the marketing in that staffing
Mm-hmm.
firm for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout this whole time, I had met a mentor
Mm-hmm.
in the artificial intelligence
Mm-hmm.
space. So I kept kind of digging in, finding
Mm-hmm.
out a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. And mind you, this was 2021,
Right.
2022. So before people really
Mm-hmm.
even
We're like
could,
open AI.
yeah, OpenAI didn't even
Mm-hmm.
have words coming out
Mm-hmm.
of people's mouth,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was more in the back end artificial
Mm-hmm.
intelligence
Okay.
world. AI has been around since the 50s.
Right.
We
I know
haven't
people
had
who
it.
think it's brand new. Hello.
Right,
Do you ask Siri where you're going?
right.
And the other day I thought, okay, when we type in Google and it starts filling in for us, right? That's
Exactly.
AI, folks. This has been here
Exactly.
forever.
Exactly. And even, right, figuring out what ads to show you.
Mm-hmm.
We've been
Mm-hmm.
using AI in the
Right.
marketing world for a
Mm-hmm.
really long time,
Mm-hmm.
machine learning, figuring
Mm-hmm.
out where people are
Mm-hmm.
going and what they're doing. But I found myself really wanting to get full into
Mm-hmm.
marketing. So in late 2022, I started working for the Dallas Observer and
Okay.
V Digital Services
Mm-hmm.
doing marketing and advertising
Mm-hmm.
sales.
Mm-hmm.
Now, AI was still a passion project of
Mm-hmm.
mine and something I was really diving in
Mm-hmm.
to learn about. And in 2022, November, OpenAI came out
Mm-hmm.
and we had full access to
Mm-hmm.
generative AI at a person by person
Mm-hmm.
level.
Mm-hmm.
I tended to be an early adopter
Mm-hmm.
with all the tools that started
Mm-hmm.
coming out and was able to figure out a way that I could integrate this into my sales and marketing
Mm-hmm.
job to make my
Mm-hmm.
life easier, my work better,
Mm-hmm.
and me smarter
Mm-hmm.
before anybody knew that it wasn't me. So I started creating custom
Mm-hmm.
GPTs in OpenAI's
Mm-hmm.
chat GPT
Mm-hmm.
system and driving strategy that people hadn't seen before and finding efficiencies that
Mm-hmm.
were allowing me to throw my feet up at
Mm-hmm.
3 and say I got everything
Mm-hmm.
accomplished
Mm-hmm.
before anybody else did,
Right.
right? So I started bringing these systems and my ideas to the C-suite
Mm-hmm.
and pushing them to really start paying attention and
Mm-hmm.
integrating into AI.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was a big adoption challenge at the
Right.
time because
Mm-hmm.
people didn't and really still don't
Oh, it's
understand the
scary.
value,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So we needed to come up with plans and
Mm-hmm.
strategies on how I could prove to them that A, this was a new position
Mm-hmm.
in a company that they
Mm-hmm.
needed,
Mm-hmm.
and B, that I was the person to be in this
Right.
position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it took about 6 months
Mm-hmm.
of proof points
Mm-hmm.
and value statements
Mm-hmm.
and saying, hey, look what I did, and successful
Mm-hmm.
sales
Mm-hmm. Right.
to really have them take me seriously and put me
Mm-hmm.
into this position.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are now. Obviously, I proved my worth and
Mm-hmm.
proved the value of artificial
Mm-hmm.
intelligence. And for the last 6, 7 months, I have been in the position
Mm-hmm.
of AI strategist
Mm-hmm.
and an AI enablement
Mm-hmm.
manager at V Digital Services.
I love it. And I love that you created your position.
Yes.
But yeah, and we do that. I mean, like we start our own companies, we do all of those things, but it's different when you've got something that maybe you've done for years and other people have done for years and all those things. And you say, hey, I can do that. I'm going to start my own company. But when you're starting from something that people are going, huh? you, AI, what is AI? And then when you say artificial intelligence, everybody freaks out.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, science fiction, it's gonna, HAL is gonna take over the world. And so I love that you were able to successfully create your own career. I just on the news yesterday, I was listening and they were talking about, trends for 2025, employment trends. And all the top jobs have AI in the title. And and I forget what, and this was like something that LinkedIn was working on. And it was incredible that we've gone from nothing 4 years ago to these are the top jobs that somebody can get.
Yes. And many companies still
Mm-hmm.
don't have
Right.
departments
Mm-hmm.
or jobs that have
Mm-hmm.
AI in the
Mm-hmm.
title, or even committees to
Mm-hmm.
start talking
Right.
about this.
Right.
It's still brand new 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it being in the
Mm-hmm.
news more and more
Mm-hmm.
is opening up
Right.
business
Mm-hmm.
owners' eyes,
Mm-hmm.
parents' eyes
Mm-hmm.
on how they can use it, teachers' eyes on how
Mm-hmm.
people are educating about it. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be revolutionary. It has been
Mm-hmm.
revolutionary, and I think 2025 is going to be a huge
Right.
year
Mm-hmm.
of change,
Mm-hmm.
innovation, and adoption.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the things that people are worried about are things that we've always worried about. It's going to take jobs.
Sure.
Well, a computer would be, I actually used a typewriter. You've probably never even touched a typewriter. Um, and people said, oh my gosh, computers, they're going to take over the world. No, it just made it easier for us to do our jobs. I mean, if we want to go back further, the assembly line, all of those things, people went, it's going to take our jobs. Well, kind of. But what it does is it creates new opportunities.
I
And I
agree.
think that's where people get stuck.
Yeah, I actually just wrote a LinkedIn post about
Mm-hmm.
this pretty recently, specifically talking about salespeople, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where my background
Mm-hmm.
is, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what launched me into
Mm-hmm.
this career, and that's what I focus on
Mm-hmm.
within my job is working with the
Mm-hmm.
sales team.
Mm-hmm.
But AI isn't going to replace salespeople, just like it's
Right.
not going to replace many other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say
Mm-hmm.
all other jobs
Mm-hmm.
because there are things that it will be
Mm-hmm.
able to replace,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Right.
a harsh reality that we
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
skip over either.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to replace salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to replace salespeople who don't use AI.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Salespeople who are using
Mm-hmm.
AI
Mm-hmm.
will very quickly shadow
Mm-hmm.
salespeople who aren't using AI,
Right.
which is why I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying so hard in my role
Mm-hmm.
to bring education
Mm-hmm.
so I can start
Mm-hmm.
upskilling and reskilling our
Mm-hmm.
salespeople, not only for Fee Digital
Mm-hmm.
Services, but for each
Mm-hmm.
individual salesperson for their own personal and
Mm-hmm.
professional growth.
Right. Okay, let's kind of start there. So, say somebody calls you and says, hey, Tori, I have this company and I have 5 salespeople. And I am smart enough to know I need to use AI, but I'm also smart enough to know I don't know anything about it. So,
Sure.
walk us through a little bit of the processes and things that you would be talking about. And, we're just going to kind of assume that these people kind of know what they're doing, right?
Sure.
They're not, they know how to turn a computer on. They might have a CRM. I mean, they're pretty sophisticated. But when you say AI to them, they totally blank out.
Yeah, I think first I would praise them for having the courage to say, I know what it is, but I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to use it,
Right. Mm-hmm.
because that's the first
Mm-hmm.
hurdle to overcome
Mm-hmm.
in any of
Right.
this,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think on the opposite end, once you recognize that
Mm-hmm.
hurdle and then realize that it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
actually exist is
Mm-hmm.
what allows you to
Right.
really fall
Mm-hmm.
into using AI,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody knows
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing if
Right.
you will.
Mm-hmm.
So
We
just getting
all
there
start
in
at
there and testing the
zero.
waters. Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. So getting in there and testing the waters, I think,
Mm-hmm.
is really important. So first of all, great candidate, because they
Mm-hmm.
have this understanding and
Mm-hmm.
we can talk about how they can
Mm-hmm.
start integrating it into their process. Second, I want hand raisers. I want to
Mm-hmm.
hear exactly what those 5 salespeople are already
Mm-hmm.
doing with
Mm-hmm.
AI, the shadow AI that they're using within their
Mm-hmm.
corporation. Shadow AI is what people are using
Right. Yeah,
without
I've
their
got
company.
Chat GPT, but I don't tell anybody about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So where it's already you be using,
Mm-hmm.
how it's already
Mm-hmm.
been used in the company,
Mm-hmm.
just to get a pulse on where to start and
Mm-hmm.
how to upskill and reskill those
Mm-hmm.
salespeople,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then I would integrate an education program,
Mm-hmm.
because with knowledge, we have adoption.
Mm-hmm.
I want a community type learning. So
Mm-hmm.
whether you're using Slack, Teams,
Mm-hmm.
Google, we want to
Mm-hmm.
create a space where people can ask any type of question,
Okay.
drop any article
Right.
they're
And
seeing.
no question is a dumb question.
All of them are
Mm-hmm.
dumb
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
nobody
Nobody
knows,
knows.
right?
Yeah. And it's okay. It's the smart thing to ask the dumb questions.
Exactly. Exactly. I never want to be the smartest person in a room,
Mm-hmm.
but I always strive to be the most curious.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's where people are succeeding in the
Right.
AI world, when they have that mindset,
Mm-hmm.
because curiosity is going to drive you forward.
Right.
Um, But start training and
Mm-hmm.
educating people on
Mm-hmm.
tools. What
Mm-hmm.
is ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are the other large language models
Mm-hmm.
that are available? What are some tools that I might be able
Mm-hmm.
to use that will push my efficiency
Mm-hmm.
forward? And then I would think it's very important, as you're bringing artificial intelligence into any business, to start thinking about AI safety
Mm.
and
Okay.
policy.
Okay. Talk to
So
us more about that.
yeah, so specifically talking about V Digital Services, I
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure A, we're using it in an ethical way. As a
Right.
marketing company,
Mm-hmm.
we are creating content for
Mm-hmm.
people, and they
Mm-hmm.
are not hiring a computer. They're
Mm-hmm.
hiring the genius marketing
Right.
minds that we have.
Mm-hmm. And we're
So making
using a computer to do it.
correct. So making sure that we are driving in responsible AI
Mm-hmm.
use
Mm-hmm.
and allowing people the freedom to use it,
Mm-hmm.
but also the understanding that this is a tool
Mm-hmm.
and not a replacement.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Also, safety.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want to put any proprietary or sensitive data
Mm-hmm.
into a large language
Right.
model.
Yeah, because it can get disseminated out there. I mean, that's
Exactly.
that's the whole process. And the way it works now is it shares.
Right. Exactly. So I would definitely make sure that there was a policy
Mm-hmm.
around how you want
Okay.
your salespeople to be
Okay.
using
Mm-hmm.
AI, and the safety behind
Mm-hmm.
it that goes along with
Mm-hmm.
whatever you
Mm-hmm.
feel as a business is
Mm-hmm.
appropriate. Um, and then something I think is a huge next step is figuring out the process.
Mm-hmm.
Every job is just a bundle of
Mm-hmm.
tasks.
Right.
So being able to take a salesperson, understand what their day looks like, and
Mm-hmm.
that's very different from salesperson to
Mm-hmm.
salesperson and
Mm-hmm.
from company to
Right.
company. But breaking down that job into that bundle
Mm-hmm.
of tasks and starting to match those with use
Mm-hmm.
cases that can be solved by artificial
Mm-hmm.
intelligence is what's going to give
Mm-hmm.
them those tangible tools to go in and start
Mm-hmm.
using it and playing around.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So a prompt library,
Mm-hmm.
right? A
Mm-hmm.
use case
Mm-hmm.
library.
Mm-hmm.
Get people thinking a little bit outside of the
Mm-hmm.
box, rather than just saying, hey, I need to write an email.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the very start of how people start, but
Mm-hmm.
giving them that leverage
Mm-hmm.
to take it a step further,
Right.
find a new use case,
Mm-hmm.
think a little bit differently
Yeah.
about it.
I need to write an email that does. It
Exactly.
is to, all those various things.
Exactly. Exactly. But there's, long-term solutions and short-term
Mm-hmm.
solutions, but that's exactly where I would start
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking to new
Mm-hmm.
salespeople who have different levels of AI literacy
Mm-hmm.
and usage.
Mm-hmm. Right. I love that, and it, like with anything, it's just a matter of getting used to it and knowing what to do. When I started with Chat GPT, I did the real general questions. And then I went, well, that's and it gave me a general answer. And then when I learned what prompts were and how to be more and more specific, I think that's what's been so fun about it. And it to me, it's always creating a first draft. and then I take it and I personalize it. Now I did something the other day. I was working on a proposal for a client,
Yeah.
and I wrote it initially in Chat GPT. And so I was real specific. Here's, here's what every single thing that I could put in there. And I did learn, somebody told me to, at the very start, say, don't respond until I ask. Otherwise its little brain starts going. And then I get lost because it suggests something and I go squirrel. And then, at the end to say, do you understand? Or did I give you enough information? Things like that. And so it came out with this great proposal. I tweaked it. I went through and added and kind of did a little bit. And then I put it into a different AI program and basically said, here is a draft of a proposal that I have written. And it happens to be Sintra, which I don't, I know that we've used it in the group. And to me, Sintra has a little bit more personality, which I know is very weird when people are thinking about all this. But it did personalize it more. I mean, it said, the Chat GPT version might have said, we have had a great relationship for 7 years. And the Sintra version said, we have had a wonderful working relationship that has been mutually beneficial for 7 years. Now, Chat GPT probably could have gotten to that point too, but it was just kind of fun to play them off of each other.
Yeah.
And I really liked the way that it came out, and changed not an awful lot, and sent it off to the client. They went, ooh, this looks cool. But yeah, it's a matter of asking it. And I've learned it's really is treat it like I would ask a person. I've also learned, and this is from our mastermind group, to say please and thank you. And good morning. And the weird thing is it seems to answer different. I don't know. I mean, it just seems to. But when I tell it thank you, I get a totally different response.
They just did a research paper on that, actually. It came out a few months ago about how the way that you talk to a large language model affects the answer. And because it's trained with all of the data across the internet, it learns from that. And the end of the article was pretty much like saying please and thank you does affect the answer.
And I get that people think that's scary, because that is kind of humanizing it, personalizing it. But you're right, it's learning from you. It's learning to be polite. Now, if you don't want that, that's fine. I mentioned Sintra. I like it because you create that brain, right? And it has all these little, I call them critters, but I know they're bots. But it has all these, I know, critters is cuter. And so I link it to my website and I link it to other things. And so, like, one of the things that I said in that proposal that I was working on was, here are the websites for 2 companies that would be considered my competitors. What is language that they use that I should be using in my proposal?
Yeah.
Now, I could have easily, maybe not so easily, maybe that's the key. I could have spent an hour, 2 hours doing all of that research. By writing that sentence, 2 sentences, it took 30 seconds, and it took, and it went scrubbing the website. I love that, scrubbing. And it came back and said, these are the terms that it uses the most. And it worked them back into the proposal. So again, a little scary, but it was like, cool.
Yeah. But it took away 2 hours of your work.
Yes.
End of the story, right?
And I could go nap, and I could play with the cats, and, all of those things. And to me, it is no different than if you hire an assistant.
I agree. It's an assistant that everybody has in their pocket that does exactly what you want it to do. And I don't know of a single assistant that's quite that good yet. But AI is there, and there are so many tools out there. You mentioned Sintra, you mentioned ChatGPT. So I think figuring out what tools where can be used for your efficiency and really your preference on what you like, even just with a large language model. You have ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Grok, Llama. And that's just to start naming them. And I try to teach my sales staff about each one, what they can be used for. and then I give them the freedom to go explore to
Right.
see which one they
Mm-hmm.
like the best,
Mm-hmm.
which responses they get
Mm-hmm.
back, right? Which is exactly what
Mm-hmm.
you do. You took one
Mm-hmm.
thing, put it into another large
Mm-hmm.
language model to figure out the
Mm-hmm.
best answer that
Mm-hmm.
you needed.
Right.
And it took away
Mm-hmm.
2 hours of your
Mm-hmm.
job. It probably took 20 minutes at the end of the day
Mm-hmm.
after you did all of
Right.
your
Mm-hmm.
iterations and used
Mm-hmm.
all of the different
Mm-hmm.
tools. Add on another 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and put in that human touch.
Mm-hmm.
Keep human in the
Right.
loop.
Mm-hmm.
I think people
Mm-hmm.
get scared
Mm-hmm.
when we say, "Oh, took away 2 hours of my
Mm-hmm.
job. I was able to sit back, put my feet up and have a
Mm-hmm.
beer, and
Mm-hmm.
I wrote something in and didn't touch it again."
Mm-hmm.
That's where I want to have
Mm-hmm.
understanding that we still need our human brains,
Right.
especially in the marketing and
Mm-hmm.
advertising
Right.
world. You're not hiring me to
Mm-hmm.
just put something into a
Mm-hmm.
computer and have the computer do the
Right.
work for
Yeah.
you.
When I sent the email to the client with the proposal, I put in there, so sorry about your Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
And then I talked about, my CU Buffs. And and I said, oh, and I saw on Facebook, looks like you had a great holiday. And so we went back and forth on that several times before we actually even talked about the proposal. And that's where the as of right now, and probably not for a very long time, where AI is just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that so I'm teaching a class internally at V Digital Services coming up here soon for the sales staff, and the title of the class is How AI Has Made Me More Human.
Mm-hmm.
Because as salespeople, we're given this amazing
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to get back to the roots of sales,
Right.
which is ultimately
Mm-hmm.
relationship
Mm-hmm.
building, which is exactly what you
Solving
just
somebody's
said, Deb.
problem. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what you
Mm-hmm.
just, I was able to
Mm-hmm.
spend more of my time,
Mm-hmm.
energy
Mm-hmm.
into building a
Mm-hmm.
relationship through this
Right.
proposal,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's as you know, I'm from Denver, and
Mm-hmm.
as I have my little hippie bone in
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
I talk to a lot of my friends
Mm-hmm.
who are so surprised. They say, Tori, I cannot believe that you ended up in artificial intelligence. And I said, AI is allowing me
Mm-hmm.
to put more time and
Mm-hmm.
energy into the things that matter to me,
Right.
which is
Mm-hmm.
human connection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think people forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you just gave such a good
Mm-hmm.
example how utilizing artificial
Mm-hmm.
intelligence has allowed you
Mm-hmm.
to have more human
Mm-hmm.
connection. And I
Right.
think that's
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal.
Right. And it is, we do have to experiment. I love that you talked about the different programs. In our mastermind class, I had the assignment of working on digital images,
Yeah.
and those are still pretty iffy, right?
I agree.
And so I had one, and I think I used 5 different programs. And basically the prompt was, I'm writing a blog post that is talking about someone having a discussion about something very serious, and there's an elephant in the room.
Mm.
And I got back some of the funniest images. I mean, like, one of them made a person the elephant. Um, they all put the elephant in the front, and none of them could move it back. I kept saying,
Mm.
put it in the background. And that, and again, I was probably just not writing the prompt right. But it was very fun. And one of them came out, it was like, I'm sorry, that's a rhinoceros. And it was like, and I found, if I'm remembering right, that Adobe was who came up with the best one. And it had it in the background. It had like a little stuffed animal sitting on a table behind somebody, and they were having this serious discussion. But and then of course what happens is I spent way too much time on that because I was having fun.
Yeah, it is
And,
fun.
and so we go down those rabbit holes, and we forget that, okay, we're really supposed to be doing work. And I probably could have actually found a stock image that did exactly what I wanted. And so that's kind of where we do have to watch is, are we getting lost in those rabbit holes and having fun playing
Yeah.
when, okay, we need to actually buckle down and do what it is that we need it to do.
Yeah, we don't want to waste anybody's time. We want to
Mm-hmm.
have artificial intelligence
Mm-hmm.
applications that are
Mm-hmm.
actually going to
Mm-hmm.
drive
Right.
efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the strategy
Mm-hmm.
of what I'm doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not just playing
Mm-hmm.
around with different
Mm-hmm.
tools and figuring out which
Mm-hmm.
ones are fun. And mind you, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely do that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that is part of the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's playing with these tools,
Mm-hmm.
it's getting
Right.
lost
Mm-hmm.
and finding the
Mm-hmm.
efficiencies
Mm-hmm.
within that.
Right.
Um,
Well, and realizing that 2 weeks from now, it's going to give you something totally different because
yeah.
they'll have gone in, they will have tweaked it, they will have upgraded it, all those various things. I mean, that's the cool thing about this is all of the developers are continually taking feedback from people, creating new things. And so I should try it again. I should give the same prompts and just see, where my elephant is this time. And does it still come out as a rhinoceros? But I found it a lot of times it spells horrible in images. I
It
was
can't spell.
Yeah, I was trying to do one that was talking about, hey, this is happening on Monday. It could not spell Monday.
No.
And I even told it this is the word. Nope. Even when I said Monday, it wouldn't do it.
Can't do it.
And so I saw somebody else on an online forum and they said, so tell it have no verbiage and then you put it into something and add the words on it. I thought, well, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Right.
But
takes away the no touch of it, right?
yeah. But I mean, that'll get fixed. It'll know how to spell Monday before too long.
Yeah, I mean they have this test or threshold
Mm-hmm.
type thing talking about Will Smith eating spaghetti. And
Mm-hmm.
this is how they
Mm-hmm.
determine how
Mm-hmm.
quickly AI is moving
Mm-hmm.
along
Mm-hmm.
within this digital image
Mm-hmm.
or digital video
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
vertical. And it's really interesting how far that has come
Mm-hmm.
along, even in the past year and a
Mm-hmm.
half
Right.
to it looks like an
Mm-hmm.
alien putting
Mm-hmm.
worms in its mouth
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
actually Will Smith
Right. Mm-hmm.
successfully
Mm-hmm.
eating spaghetti.
Right. Right. And I get where that's scary if you are a graphic designer, and as for right now, we can still look at the images and go, nope, fake. Or not fake, AI generated. There was a big hoo-ha over Christmas because Coca-Cola did an entire AI
Yeah.
generated ad.
Yeah.
I looked at it and thought, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
Other people now, granted, here, I mean, Georgia is where Coca-Cola is based. We have a huge film production. I mean, all sorts of stuff here. And so that just got people up in arms that Coke did not use real people to do this.
Uh-huh.
But I'm guessing it still took hundreds of hours of somebody and somebody's to get that ad done. So,
100%.
yeah.
And
Again, it didn't take somebody's job away. It just changed what the job was.
changed the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think coming from my marketing and advertising
Mm-hmm.
brain, who many times work with these small to
Mm-hmm.
mid-sized businesses, I think this gives an accessible way
Mm-hmm.
for businesses with
Mm-hmm.
no money all the way up to
Mm-hmm.
businesses with
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola money
Mm-hmm.
to get content,
Mm-hmm.
video content,
Right.
social media content at
Mm-hmm.
a really
Mm-hmm.
approachable price,
Right.
right?
And to me, it's the same thing as the evolution of website development, right? When I started doing website development, I had to know HTML coding, bleh, and all of these various things. And now there's this little thing called WordPress, and there's even other versions of that. Drag and drop. I mean, all you can develop an entire website in hours and not know what you have to do to make it say bold.
Yeah,
And to me it's the same thing. It is simplifying the process.
Deb, they have AI tools now where
Mm-hmm.
you can put in one line of a
Mm-hmm.
prompt and it
Mm-hmm.
will build your landing page for
Right.
you with
Yeah.
natural
Mm-hmm.
language and very
Mm-hmm.
minimal work.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so again, that frees me up to go do something else. Maybe it's work related, maybe it's cat related, maybe it's a nap. And so, but that's to me, that's the biggest benefit of all of this.
I agree. I think it's kind of going back to what we were saying. It's allowing humans to have the
Mhm,
opportunity to be more
mhm,
human. And
mhm,
I see why people are scared
mhm,
and I
mhm,
see why there's trepidation. But if we switch the way that
mhm,
we think about it,
mhm,
I think that we have the opportunity to realize that
mhm,
AI is giving us back
mhm,
something that is
mhm,
that's our most
mhm,
valuable
mhm.
resource, which
Right,
is time.
right, right.
That's what we
Mhm,
need in
mhm,
life. And I think through the COVID pandemic, as I was going through this
mhm,
transformation of career, of life, of mindset, mentality, all of that, that's all I wanted.
mhm,
And Deb, I am ambitiously lazy, which is maybe why I'm in artificial intelligence,
mhm.
because
That's me. Yay. Mhm, mhm,
I try to figure out anything that
mhm.
I can to
Right.
give me back more
Mhm,
time,
mhm,
which allows me to then
mhm,
fill up my bucket
mhm,
in whatever
mhm.
term I think that
Right.
is, whether it
Mhm,
be more work, whether it
mhm,
be more family time,
mhm,
whether it be getting a workout in.
mhm,
Artificial intelligence is
mhm.
allowing us to have that.
Right. And one of my goals for 2025 is to use AI a lot more. I mean,
Yeah.
I use it, a little bit every day, maybe not even every day. I mean, I am definitely a little tinkering person. And I know that I need to use it a lot more. And so that's part of why I'm trying to learn all of this. But then it's like, oh my God, it's overwhelming.
Sure.
Because there is so much. So for people like me who are, and I think that's it, they're like, ah, in fact, today somebody was saying they were talking about Chat GPT, but they got all the letters mixed up. And and my brain kept correcting it. And then I was, but for somebody who is going, okay, I know that I should start doing this, but I don't even know where to start. What do you tell folks?
I've been talking about this a lot recently because this is the barrier to adoption.
Mm-hmm.
People are intimidated to
Right.
some extent
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
don't know where to start.
Right.
And
I
what
don't want to
I am,
break the internet.
you can't break it. You won't break it, right? I promise you won't
Okay.
break it.
Okay.
So that's that's the mindset you need
Mm-hmm.
to get into first
Mm-hmm.
of all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
sign up for
Mm-hmm.
newsletters. Everybody's on social
Okay.
media. I
Mm-hmm.
am unfortunately an addicted to TikTok type girl.
Mm-hmm.
I started changing my feeds on social
Mm-hmm.
media. I
Mm-hmm.
started following different people on
Okay.
LinkedIn. If you surround yourself around
Mm-hmm.
something,
Mm-hmm.
you'll naturally start to
Mm-hmm.
adopt it more. If you're seeing use cases in
Mm-hmm.
personal life, you'll
Mm-hmm.
start to use it in personal
Mm-hmm.
life. I have a 7-year-old. Oh gosh, he's 8 now. I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. He just turned 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to teach them how to approach the
Mm-hmm.
world with an AI forward
Mm-hmm.
mindset because
Right.
it's the way that they're going to
Mm-hmm.
walk into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm talking to adults,
Mm-hmm.
I remind them to try to put themselves back into their kid
Mm-hmm.
mindset.
Mm-hmm.
When
And
your
let's be
kid
honest,
comes,
that's probably about the level I need to be at as 8 years old.
yeah, right? And when you ask it a
Mm-hmm.
question and it gives you that generic
Mm-hmm.
answer back, put yourself back into your child's
Yes.
shoes. Ask why,
Why?
why,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what kids ask after you give them a
Right.
generic
Mm-hmm.
answer.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Why?
And then ask it again.
Mm-hmm.
Ask it 10 times
Mm-hmm.
why
Mm-hmm.
and see how much more
Mm-hmm.
depth that you can get to
Mm-hmm.
everything that you answer.
Right.
I use it in my personal life making dinner. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to make for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I'll open up my fridge, I'll
Mm-hmm.
take a picture of the
Mm-hmm.
inside of my fridge, and I say, what should I make? Give me a
Oh my
recipe,
gosh. Mine
right?
would mine would say take out.
That's fair. That's fair. And then another hot tip that I give to people is to talk to it. We can type
Mm-hmm.
40 words per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you about my background and where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
I never used a computer
Mm-hmm.
until I was 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't type very fast,
Mm-hmm.
but I can certainly talk fast. We can
Ah.
talk an average of
Mm-hmm.
170 words
Right.
per minute.
Okay. So you do
ChatGPT
voice. Okay.
ChatGPT has that voice function and it
Ah.
is trained off of the hogwash of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So fragmented sentences, random
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, not put together paragraphs is something that it understands really well. So open up ChatGPT, open up that voice feature and say, hey, I'm going to talk to you for 10 minutes. Don't interrupt me, and just spit out everything on your mind. That's how to use it. It's no
Oh,
fancy
I love that.
prompt. It's no fancy program. You do have to have the app on your phone to be able to do that. But open it up and start talking to it. It's the easiest way to start integrating it into your life.
Right. And again, that people are thinking, okay, we're humanizing it. Yeah. I mean, I was reading on a message board, and it was actually on Facebook. And this person was saying, well, yeah, I have a conversation with the program every morning while I'm having my coffee and talk about what my day is going to be. And part of me thought, cool. And another part of me thought, oh, that's scary. And I get it. I get why people are thinking, oh my gosh, especially because we went from not having this 4 years ago to this level. And so people are, thinking, what's it going to be like in another 4 years? Who knows? But yeah, the thing is, it's not going away, folks. I remember back when people told me, I don't understand why you're teaching businesses how to use Facebook, because that's going to be a waste of time. And I was like, don't think so.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, I went back to them several years later and I went, lost out, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what happened was they were behind the learning curve. The other companies had their Facebook business pages, had groups, had all of those things. And of course, Facebook and LinkedIn were just kind of the start of it, and then we went to Twitter, formerly known as, I'm a branding person. I'm sorry, and TikTok and whatever happens with TikTok in the next couple of weeks. I mean, all of those things, we can choose to either adopt or get run over. I mean, and I hate to put it that way, but that is kind of what it is.
And I want to remind listeners that though we're talking extensively about AI, how we're already starting to work into our businesses and personal lives, that though and if you haven't started dabbling at all, you're still not behind the eight ball. I read in an article the other day that across internet users in the United States, only 36% of internet users in the United States are using generative AI willingly. I think a lot of people are using AI without their own knowledge because it's been thrust into every part of what we do. If
Like
you
we
use
said,
Facebook,
hey, Alexa, tell me.
exactly. Llama is integrated in all of Instagram and Facebook. If you've searched anything on Facebook, you're using AI, right?
Right.
But people aren't using it yet at a mass scale. And we still have time to learn about this.
Right.
And we still have time to develop our skills. And we're in a really unique time where there is a gap in the workforce. It's what I found and realized pretty early, which is how I was able to push myself through into a new position in a company that didn't have this position prior.
And they were smart enough to go, ooh.
Yeah. Or I was just convincing enough.
Yeah. They're like, okay, fine, Tori, fine.
Just charming, just enough.
Yes.
But we still have time and reach out to people that have already started integrating this into their lives. And honestly, surrounding myself with it on social media, which is where I already was, helped me drive forward my competence on AI in general.
Right.
So you're not behind. And just even starting to listen to this podcast is the step forward that anybody can take to start their AI journey.
I love it. I love it. Well, you obviously use AI a lot. What are your top 5 programs and what do you use them for?
Good question. So obviously we all know ChatGPT. It's what I started with. I remember November 2022 when it came out. I wrote a story about the death and life of queso because I had eaten a huge pint of cheese and I felt terrible about
Mhm.
myself. So the funny story that it came out with was quite amusing. But ChatGPT since then has integrated so many different types of tools within
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
So ChatGPT is great as your
Mhm.
multi-purpose large language
Mhm.
model. It
Mhm.
has that search capability
Mhm.
right now as well, which got really pushed out to all users during the 12 days of Shipmas.
Mhm.
And it has real-time search capabilities
Mhm.
across the internet.
Mhm.
But if you're just going to something for general use
Mhm.
or strategy and reasoning, which
Mhm.
came out with their new versions, Omni, 4.0, that's the one to
Mhm.
start with, I would say. There's a free account. There's
Mhm.
also a paid account, which is only $20 per
And
month.
what was that one
Um,
again?
ChatGPT.
Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry.
And
Mhm.
then they have this enterprise account now that's just like
Mhm.
$200 a month, but
And
really
that's for a company.
not
Mhm.
needed
Right.
unless you're
Right.
like coding.
Mhm.
And if you are, don't ask me about it because I
No, that's yeah. Mhm. Yeah, way up there. Mhm.
but in the marketing and advertising world, I drive a lot of people over to
Mhm.
Claude and Perplexity
Mhm.
as well.
Mhm.
Those are both large language
Mhm.
models also.
Mhm.
Perplexity is awesome
Mhm.
for real-time research.
Mhm.
So if you're trying to find market trends
Mhm.
or prospecting, which
Mhm.
is something that I'm teaching our sales reps
Mhm.
a lot
Mhm.
about at V Digital Services,
Mhm.
is how to use a large language model
Mhm.
for prospecting, then Perplexity is where
Mhm.
you would want to go.
Okay.
It's got a really great user interface because it gives you all of those sources
Mhm.
easy and readily
Mhm.
right in the
Mhm.
answer.
Right.
And it
So
also
then you
gives
can
you these,
check because again, folks, we all hear it's only as good as what's going into it. And it
correct.
can, I love it when people say it hallucinates.
Yes. Kind
It
of
can
sounds
give you
fun.
the wrong answers. So if your life depends on it or your business, double and triple check, folks.
Yes. It's not the
Just
end
like,
all be
you know,
all.
just like if an intern or an employee handed you a report, you shouldn't just take it at face value.
Yes, this isn't a blind
Mm-hmm,
tool by any
mm-hmm,
means. We, again, keep
mm-hmm,
human in the loop to
mm-hmm,
make sure
mm-hmm.
that we're giving accurate
Right.
and relevant information in and out, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But Perplexity also gives you these cool follow-up
mm-hmm.
questions that allow you to
Ah,
branch out,
okay.
which is super helpful.
Mm-hmm,
And then for writing, I use Claude.
mm-hmm,
Speaking of those hallucinations, I do
mm-hmm,
find that Claude hallucinates a little bit less, but really great in natural
mm-hmm,
language and writing content,
mm-hmm,
whether that be a social media post
mm-hmm,
or a blurb
mm-hmm,
for a newsletter.
mm-hmm,
That's kind of where I start my
mm-hmm,
writing journeys
mm-hmm,
is with Claude.
mm-hmm,
But a little bit outside of that large language model side of things,
mm-hmm.
I really enjoy Napkin AI.
Hmm.
I've been doing a lot of presentations
Mm-hmm,
recently, whether it be podcasts or presenting to my internal staff, the marketing team, the SEO team, the sales
mm-hmm,
team. And a lot of it integrates data,
mm-hmm.
which need graphs
Oh,
and
okay.
infographics.
Mm-hmm,
Napkin AI, you can take any sentence or
mm-hmm.
blurb, put it in, and it will give you, geez, it's like 20 different options of
Cool.
pictographs that
Mm-hmm,
you can then copy and paste and put
mm-hmm,
into a presentation.
mm-hmm,
There's funnel charts and
mm-hmm,
pillar charts and all of these really cool
mm-hmm,
options that can then be
mm-hmm,
customized via font
mm-hmm,
and color and
mm-hmm.
all of
So it
that stuff.
matches your branding, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm,
So super cool tool for
mm-hmm,
doing
mm-hmm,
presentations. And then presentations themselves, I've been utilizing Gamma AI a lot
mm-hmm,
recently as well, which can, like we were saying before, take a single to multi-sentence prompt and turn it
mm-hmm.
into a landing page,
Ah, mm-hmm,
or can also turn it into a full presentation.
mm-hmm,
So being able to say, I am going on a podcast and
mm-hmm,
I need a presentation to follow along with me
mm-hmm,
talking about artificial intelligence in sales and marketing.
mm-hmm.
That is really all the minimum that you would have to
Wow.
put in
Mm-hmm,
to get a 20
mm-hmm,
page deck
mm-hmm.
that is gorgeous
Mhm.
and full of AI
Mhm.
generated pictures to go along with
Mhm.
all of the text. A really great way to start a
Mhm.
presentation and then drive down
Mhm.
on exactly what you want to
Right.
say.
Mhm.
But I've been using that a
Mhm.
lot to start curating
Mhm.
educational programs in
Mhm.
our LMS.
Cool.
And
Cool.
then the last one, which you're going to hate, Deb, but I really enjoy Notebook
Mhm.
LM.
I like Notebook LM. And what I did with it was I took medical research, right? And which is written in medical gobbledygook. And I put it in there and I said, simplify this.
Yeah.
And it got it down to, you know, this means this, this means this. Now again, I
Yes.
had to double check, to make sure that it was correct. But yeah, it was incredible how it did that.
And for those out there who don't know what Notebook LM is, it is a closed source platform that is built by Google,
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to take documents of any type, whether it be YouTube videos or PDFs
Mm-hmm.
or full decks,
Mm-hmm.
and drop it into these singular
Mm-hmm.
notebooks. Now, this isn't cross internet, so it isn't going to pull in other
Right. It's
information.
only taking what you give it.
It's
Mm-hmm.
only taking what you give it. And you're allowed to put up to 50 content sources in there.
Mm-hmm.
So you really
Mm-hmm.
do have a huge context window to be able to work with. But then the coolest part
Mm-hmm.
is not only do you get to make study guides if you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out research
Mm-hmm.
on a particular topic, but it also comes up with FAQ
Mm-hmm.
sheets, or quizzes that
Mm-hmm.
you can take to
Mm-hmm.
kind of drive
Mm-hmm.
information in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And then what kind of sets it apart from a regular large language model like a chat
Mm-hmm.
GPT is that you're able to then make a podcast out
Right.
of the
Of
information,
real sounding voices, not
real sounding
how
voices.
this is,
Yes.
Mhm.
But it allows you to take any
Mhm.
complex
Mhm.
topic and make it approachable.
Mhm.
So I
Right.
use it a lot for my kids
Mhm.
who maybe don't grasp a
Mhm.
particular topic
Mhm.
that they're learning in
Mhm.
school. I find resources
Mhm.
across the internet. My son was learning about cavemen right before the break.
Mhm.
So we found these different sources
Mhm.
across the internet, and I was able to switch the level to
Mhm.
third grade
Mhm.
and have him listen to a podcast on
Mhm.
the way to school
Oh my gosh, I
about
love it.
cavemen,
Mhm. Mhm.
which was awesome. And
Mhm.
he was able
Right.
to absorb that
Mhm.
complex
Mhm.
topic
Mhm.
a little bit differently
Mhm. Right.
and in a
Mhm.
fun
Mhm.
manner
Right.
rather than him
Mhm.
having to read
Mhm.
through a
Mhm.
document, which my 8-year-old wouldn't do.
Right. And what this is doing is it's allowing us to use the methods that somebody's going to learn the best. He learns by audible. Some people are going to learn by the graphic charts. Some people want to read the report, whatever it is. And we're now, okay. I know I sound lazy. I am lazy.
Ambitiously lazy.
That's it, ambitiously lazy. By using this, it gets that information done in a, and again, I'm not having to do it.
Yeah, it's a personalized learning
Mhm.
journey tool.
Mhm.
It allows me, as
Mhm.
someone who's trying to
Mhm.
teach about AI
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
implement AI
Mhm.
into our wholesale
Right.
strategy,
Mhm.
I'm able to personalize
Mhm.
that learning journey
Right.
per
Mhm.
employee.
Right. Yeah.
So
If somebody says, I learn best from watching videos, then you can create the videos. Somebody else is going to say, I need to read it. You create it in documents that they read,
exactly.
whatever it is. And you're not having to recreate it every time. I mean, that's the cool thing.
Exactly. And I'm doing that currently
Mm-hmm.
with all of our product
Mm-hmm.
suite at V Digital
Mm-hmm.
Services so that we have our
Mm-hmm.
salespeople able to absorb the
Mm-hmm.
information in their preferred
Mm-hmm.
learning style. So we
Right.
take information on organic
Mm-hmm.
SEO and we put it into a
Mm-hmm.
podcast and we put it into
Mm-hmm.
Synthesia and then have a video that goes through
Mm-hmm.
slides. And then we have PDFs for the
Mm-hmm.
people who like to read through
Mm-hmm.
things. And it allows absorption of
Mm-hmm.
knowledge at a mass
Mm-hmm.
scale
Mm-hmm.
because we all know that everybody learns differently.
Mm-hmm.
So this gives the opportunity to teach internally and then take it a step further, be able to translate data to people that might not understand it in a different way as well. So if we could give a client a podcast on their organic SEO results where me sitting in front of them for 45 minutes and talking about the data and numbers, they right over their head.
But the CFO wants the data
better.
and numbers.
Exactly. It's a really, really cool tool for all of that. So I use Notebook LM a lot and I enjoy it. And then I mentioned that other one, Synthesia, which is an AI avatar tool where you can take any script and make it look like a real person's talking.
I love it. I love it. Well, oh my gosh, we've only got about 5 minutes left. And so my next question is, what do you see as the future? This has been 4 years ish, that all of this has come up and has gone so quickly. What do you see, the future holding?
It's a really great question. And it is moving so quickly that I think that we could have our minds blown if we think about it too much. But thinking about the future while taking what is going on currently is important. So 2025 is going to be filled with agents, agentic AI, figuring out ways that an artificial intelligence system can autonomously complete a task for you. So being able to write in, I am going to Phoenix, Arizona to meet a client that I really want to impress. I need to be there February 10th through the 13th. And an agentic AI will be able to find a really nice restaurant, book the reservation, find a flight for you, and then book a hotel. So this is where I think the future is going, filling these menial tasks that we have currently that are, again, taking away from the time of being a productive human and replacing that with AI that will do it for us. It's going to be really curious on how this develops and the way that this is going to impact businesses specifically, but we are not too far away from having full AI employees because of this agentic AI that's coming out. And like you said, if we don't start implementing this into our knowledge base, we're going to have people that are going to pass us because they're going to have these tools and capabilities that just make them better, faster, stronger businesses as a whole.
And let's be honest, it's any age. I mean, I'm old. I'm old enough to be your mother. And I am. And I love all of this, and I was talking to somebody the other day who's in their 70s and they're learning this. And then of course, you have the 8 and the 9-year-olds who are learning how to do this. But I think that's one of the cool things too, is it isn't, Gen Z, whatever. I've heard now we're into B because we had Gen A and
beta.
And beta as of January 1st is now beta. So we're like going in this circle. But yeah, if you are, as you said earlier, curious, you can learn how to do this. But for people who go, oh my God, Tori, I'm still overwhelmed. How do they find you and how can you help them?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I believe I'm Victoria Begg on LinkedIn.
And we've got your link in there.
Yes, perfect. Or you can email me at tori.begg@vdigitalservices.com and ask me anything. I am a public servant to help people in the artificial intelligence space because I don't want anybody to go without having this knowledge, information, and tool in their pocket.
I love it. I love it. And it really is fun. I mean, when you get over the fact that it seems a little scary, it's fun. I mean, I used it when we went to Orlando and I said, we don't like theme parks. What else can we do?
Exactly.
and it came up with several things. A couple of them I went, no, I don't think so. But some of the others, and because that was the only prompt I gave. If I could have been, nightlife or whatever. I mean, I could have, but that just kind of started the process of thinking about it. But it's the same thing. We've asked Google those questions for years. Before then it was Ask Jeeves. Somebody bought Ask Jeeves. I don't remember who that one was, but we've had all of these things, and so it's just a matter of you need to learn how to do it. And if you're the boss, you need to at least learn to know if your employees are doing it right.
Correct. Start asking questions. Start getting the pulse of AI usage in your business, and then ask questions on what problems it can solve and what use cases it can be used for.
Right. Go back to that 3-year-old. Why?
Exactly.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, I've been having so much fun with this. Do you have any final thoughts, Tori, that you want to leave everyone with?
Just start using it. Just open it up and you can't break it. But if you don't start using it, one of your competitors is using it. So just get in there, start asking it questions, start getting into the mix of the people who are already using it. There's networking groups across the nation that are talking about AI. I'm formulating a networking group here in DFW, really focusing on AI and bringing AI into businesses. So if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, make sure to contact me about that networking group to get into the mix. And it's not going to replace you, but people that are using it might.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having so much fun talking with Tori Begg. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.